Dr. Sharon, we can start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and warm welcome to today's webinar, Concept to Product, Demystifying Product Development. Myself, Dr. Sharon James. I'm a head and neck pathologist. I work as Senior Program Manager at MSMF TBI. It is very exciting to see so many participants in this platform. So firstly, I'd like to welcome all our participants who took time out of their day to attend this webinar. Before introducing the speaker, let me give you an overview on MSMF NH Wilbro under the BioNest program. So Masundar Shah Medical Foundation is based in a 25-acre campus of Narayana Health City, which has close to 500 specialist doctors, 86 specialties, where we see average of 7,000 OPDs on a daily basis. We have a 2,500 bed infrastructure, and technology folks across India is coming here to access this melting point of health infrastructure, where they get to talk to doctors, scientists, all under one roof. So the TBI, Technology Business Incubator, MSMF, is India's first corporate-based hospital startup incubator, an initiative launched by BIRAC under BioNest program. So even though there are several other BioNest programs across the country, MSMF BioNest is unique because we are not just confined to an academic setup, but has an industry capital market interface. We are at an industry interfacing point where we have access to Narayana Health, the country's third largest hospital, partnered with Wilbro, which is a 20-year-old venture capital and social impact firm. So at present, we don't find healthcare innovation prosper in India is mainly because there are three distinct islands in healthcare where they don't talk to each other. They are the doctors, the scientists, and the technology business folks. So until these three islands come together, innovations are never going to thrive the way we see it in the Western countries. For example, the doctors doesn't have time to talk to the scientists, and scientists have their own way of working in the laboratories where they struggle to get their innovation into market. Whereas the technology business folks are in a rush to take their innovation to the market, but they are struggling at the regulatory side or the reactions or impact their product has in the market. So welcome to MSMF, where all these three islands meet up and talk to each other. So without further ado, I would like to turn the time over to a presenter today, a legendary personality, a product innovation guru, Dr. K.R. Suresh Nair. Dr. Nair is presently the Chief Technology Advisor to Social Alpha, an initiative of Tata Trust. He also founded two companies, Designer Alpha and Biophoton Technology. He is an alumnus of IIT Bombay Electrical Engineering Department. He has more than 120 publications, 18 patents. He has co-authored 3 books and more than 200 technical reports to his credit. Sir is an active promoter of Academic Industry Association, and his passion is to mentor youngsters as entrepreneurs. Sir is an active leader at the forefront of various councils and boards like Government Research and Development, Kerala State IT Mission, CUSAT, Kerala Startup Mission, amongst many more. We are very thrilled to hear from you about the prototyping for hardware-based startups, along with details on medical regulatory certifications, risk consideration, and case studies on healthcare products taken through every stage. Over to you, sir, and welcome to this webinar.
Thank you, Sharon. Good evening to all. Thank you for joining me at this time, this evening time. So let us straight away get on to the subject because we have very less time, a lot to talk. Okay. The first one, I will start with the innovation. You know, like every one of us used to talk about the innovation. We used to dream about innovation, but I just wanted to make it very clear, what is innovation? This is basically a process of translating an idea or invention into a product or service. That's what normally we hear, but I have one more definition there. You know, it is called as innovation only when it creates value or for which customers will pay. This is very important. You know, you are coming up with an idea, you are coming up with a product, Unless there is a customer who is willing to buy, then it will not become an innovation. That's what we have to understand. So customer need is very, very important. So I will just give an example, like around 57,000 startups are there in the country now, and government is funding in whatever way they can. If you see, very few hardware-based products are coming out from these startups, whereas there are some software-based app-based, some of the applications are coming up in a big way, but on the hardware side, we will not see many of them coming up. So there was a survey conducted on this one to find out what is the main reason. You will be surprised. The reason was categorized, and 47% of that the failure happened because there was no market need for the product you developed. Okay, so that is the 47%. There are multiple reasons for failure, but this is one of the major reasons. There are many other things. So you have to develop a product where there is a customer need, where there is going to be an application. I think with the combination here, Mazumdar Shah Medical Foundation, all these ecosystem is built. This is very important. Why I'm saying is like, for example, I have done my PhD in some area. I will naturally think that I will come up with a product in my area where I am within a comfort zone because I know the subject. I will assume that whatever product I will come up on the area where I am working or I am an expert, there will be a market need. That's what the assumption, which is not true. So this has to be first understood. Today is, weekend. So let us start with a little lighter note. See, if somebody falls down, break the hand, and you put the plaster and also you put a sling normally. So the normal thing is like whomsoever you meet, you have to tell what happened. They will naturally ask you what happened. So you have to go on telling this. Think how many times you have to tell this in a day. So I was just proposing, like, instead of that, you can save a lot of energy. Just put the root cause or the reason for this, breaking. You just print it on the sling itself so that it becomes very easy. Nobody will ask. It is easily understood. Okay. Nowadays, I think even on the mask, you may have to put all these things like how many doses you have taken, which vaccine you have taken. So many things you can do. A lot of applications are there. That is on the lighter note. So here also, this is an innovation because there are people. Whenever I present, the people is to tell like there is a requirement, they are willing to pay. Now coming to the subject back. Whenever you are starting this entrepreneurship journey, you have to first do a self-check. This is very important. Self-check you have to do. Why I'm saying is like, it is better you understand what you are going to work on. And if you do a self-check and make yourself ready for this one. So I will go one by one. The first thing is the originality. Originality, I have been sitting in many of the committees and all. You can see that people have read some paper, some IEEE paper somewhere, or they have seen a similar product somewhere. They have read about that and they want to make it the same thing here. If you ask what is your unique selling proposition, they will tell like low cost. I will come to that later on. But I always tell like, you can always get away with a fund from government or any other places. It is not a hard thing to get it. Because the experts may not know what are all existing, but you are going to put your life into this one. So you have to make yourself sure that whatever work you are going to do is original. Original doesn't mean that it's something non-existent. Original means like, it can be incremental innovation. Whatever is there, you are going to come up with a little bit more innovation so that it will become more useful, more effective and things like that. So that is what you have to first do. Second one is prior art status. Whatever you are going to develop or whichever area you are going to get in, first thing is you have to know what is there as of now. You have to know what is there as of now. Then only you can think of what extra you can do, which will be your innovation. So this is a real homework you have to do, really understand what people have done and what is missing and things like that. So this is the second point. Third point is patentability. Patentability is, like you can do in many ways. It's not at all an issue. You can go on getting patents. That is not an issue at all. Then you will do naturally market analysis, competitive products, and your USPs. I think, skip that one because there are many other people who can talk on that one. The fifth point is development cost and time. This also you have to have an idea. You cannot plan to develop a product which will take maybe 10 years and the cost will be a few hundred millions, at this stage when you are starting. You can do that later on when you make some money and when you establish yourself. These also you have to have an idea. You have to think, you have to think big, but you have to, that big comes from sort of disruptive innovation. That's what I can call it. Product cost. This is very important. See, normally when you design a product, the conventional way is like you design a product, you take the bill of material, what is there in the product, you list them, all of them, put the cost for each one of them, you add, that is coming as a bill of material cost, BOM cost, that is what is known. Then the product cost may be, maybe another 30% or 35%, depending on the segment in which we are working. Okay, so you know the bill of material cost. When you will know the bill of material cost, when you complete the design. Okay, so you are almost done. So you know the bill of material, then you know the cost. Then you, from that you can derive what will be the product cost. But my suggestion is like, whenever you are coming up with the specification, technical specification, when you are developing a product, you have to list down the technical specification, the electrical specification, mechanical specification, regulatory compliance, reliability parameter, all these things you have to list down. When you list down that one, you have to achieve that. Along with that, you put one more thing as target product cost. That also should be a specification. Why I am saying is like, you may come up with a beautiful product, which is very expensive compared to competitor products. You cannot sell it. There is no point of investing your time on these type of things. So when you put this product cost also, or bill of material cost also as a desired specification, whenever you are doing the design, you have to make the design in such a way that this will remain, the cost will remain within your target. This is very important. This is not very easy way. Why I am saying is like, designing a product is easy. Like you can refer some, some technical articles, some data sheets. You can select that and put it. Nowadays, evaluation boards are available. Raspberry Pi or so many things are there. You just take that and put it and connect it, works, starts working. But at that time, you have to see many things like, is it within my product cost? And many more things are there. I will come to that in the subsequent points. The next one is repeatability. See, when I am developing a product, as we do in our lab and all, when you are developing a product, only you can demonstrate. You cannot leave that proto or whatever you develop to someone else to demonstrate, because it may not work. Because you know where to press, where to touch so that it works. But when you are getting into these type of entrepreneurship and coming to a product development, your design has to be repeatable. Why I am saying is like, you may be doctor or engineer with MTech, PhD and all those things. So you know how it works and all. But once you develop, you will translate this prototype to a commercial product through a manufacturing company. In a manufacturing company, who will be doing this one? Only ITI guys, diploma guys. They are not, graduates from IIT and the NIT and all those things. So whatever design you have done, finally it will come as a document. Only the document is transferred to the manufacturing unit, and the manufacturing unit will just follow your instruction. For example, you make the PCB like that, they will make the PCB like that. You tell these components to be put like this, they will do the put the components in that one. What is the tolerance and all those things? They will take care of whatever you have told. They will not use their brain. That's what you have to understand. So you have to do the design in such a way that when it is assembled as you have instructed, it should automatically work. Okay, you cannot tell that you have to touch here, you change the capacitor here, or put a screw here, then only it will work. So that is very important. Manufacturability. This is another one which I covered in repeatability also. Manufacturability, as I said, it is done by a normal person. He will not think on the technology. He doesn't know what it is. And also, when you do the design, you have to do the design so that it is manufacturable. Well, example I will just give. You can make an enclosure for the product. Any mechanical engineer, BTech, he will be able to use SolidWorks or Creo, any of the software, CAD, and they can make a very good, enclosure. Leaving the industrial design, I will come to that later. So you have done that. So if you go and 3D print that one, or if you go and vacuum cast that one, when you do that 3D printing, it will look good. You just keep it for 1 or 2 days, slowly you can see that some are warping out. When you assemble the screw, the holes doesn't match each other, and all these problems you can go and see. Another in electronic side also I will give. Electronic side, whenever you are selecting the components, there is something called a tolerance, whether it is a capacitor or resistor or inductance, there is a tolerance. So that tolerance has to be selected in such a way that because there will be a lot of combination of components, there will be tolerance on plus, minus, and all those things. So that combination also should work there. So in that way, you may think like I will give 0 tolerance. Okay, that is the best way, so that it will work. But that is not possible. Every component is having a tolerance. If you reduce the tolerance, cost will go up like anything. So you have to do the design properly so that whatever tolerance you are giving, that will be matching. Okay, that is one thing. And even in the mechanical side, there will be a lot of parts. You have to give tolerance when you want to get it done using machining or whatever process you do it. And that tolerance have to be properly defined and selected and specified, so that within the tolerance when the manufacturer makes, and when you assemble, it should work properly. It should assemble properly. This is one of the things which normally people miss it. Sustainability is like, when you are coming up with a product, you think of the futuristic products also, because you have to have a series of products later on. That is what is sustainability. I think you will learn that. Stages in development, I think you may be knowing. The first thing is idea by innovator like you. Then the first thing is proof of concept. Proof of concept is like whatever idea you have, this has to be proven to others. That is what is meant by proof of concept. Okay, when you are doing the proof of concept, you can use available lab equipment. For example, a power supply available, you can use it. And a PC is available, you can use it. MATLAB, you can use it. A spectrum analyzer is there, you can use it. A photosensitive, whatever equipments are there, you can use it. All those things you can use it. There, the idea is just to prove your concept, okay, so that you can show to others and whoever wants to see. Once that is done, then you move on to design, where there will be electronics, mechanical, and all. Once design is complete, then you move on to manufacturing, then the sales and marketing happens. Here, the first 2 stages, idea and proof of concept, always you try to work in an incubation center. Why? Because otherwise, if you are going to set up a shop outside, your time will be going on thinking about getting the electricity, paying the electricity bill, paying the network bill. All those things will be troubling you, and you will have no time to focus on your idea. That's why incubation centers, all subsidized space, they take care of everything. They will give an incubation atmosphere so that you focus only on the idea. Then, like the part of proof of concept design and manufacturing, you may require some investment. It can be, angel investment or, over some government funding and all. Then for sales and marketing, you need a company. But, when you start the idea itself, you can start a company, because this may be required. This will help you in many ways. I will leave that one there. So let me take you through the process of converting a concept to a commercial product. This is what the standard, what I normally follow, but there can be a lot of changes, because it's not a hard and fast rule that you have to follow, but I will explain this one. Once the concept is there, you wanted to develop something. I explain proof of concept. You have to show that the idea works, okay, that you have to prove it to others. Once that is done, you move to design, where industrial design will be there. It should look good, aesthetic as well as ergonomics. Wherever, you cannot just put a switch anywhere. It has to be put at proper place so that it is very user friendly. Then there will be electronic design, electrical design, mechanical design, RF, for example, IoT enabled, Wi-Fi enabled. There is RF requirement, and embedded software will be there. So when you are doing the design as against the proof of concept, I told you during proof of concept, you can use a tabletop with a lot of equipment. But when you are going to do the design, you have to plan in such a way that this will be with the same, almost same form and fit of the final product. Then only, because you don't have time and money to do design iterations. So let us plan like that. Then once that is done, then you move on to Proto Build. The design is completed. You come up with the Proto, the first one. The enclosure can be 3D printed, vacuum casted, or various type of things you can do. The PCB, you can get it done from somewhere, and then you assemble it. So I call it as Alpha Proto, first one. You can test yourself and also give to some of the potential clients. They will also use it and give some feedback, whatever it is, and you iterate that and come up with the Beta Proto. The Beta Proto is normally, I call it as MVP, minimum viable product there. Beta product, Proto there. So that Beta is done, everything is done. If the product works perfectly, all the issues are taken care, it is almost the same form and fit, and you have come up with the Proto. Once Proto is working fine and you are satisfied, then you move on to pilot build. The pilot build will happen not at your place. This has to happen at the final manufacturing location. For example, volume manufacturing, you may not be doing. You may give to some EMS company or some company who will do the manufacturing for you. So it has to be done there, the pilot build. Pilot build can be 50 numbers, 100 numbers, depending on the type of product. Okay. Once pilot build is done, then that also you can use it for some of the purposes, including the compliance testing. Because the compliance testing is very important. Otherwise, people will not buy, especially in healthcare area. So the pilot build, I told you, that has to be done in a manufacturing facility. Why? Because whatever product you are taking out as pilot is going to the compliance testing. When the compliance testing passes, you cannot change any component, any material, any process. Everything is frozen as of now. So once compliance testing is done, it passes, then parallelly you can do even reliability testing. Why reliability testing? When you are coming up with a product, you have to give the warranty to the customer, saying like, okay, 5-year warranty. It's not like I will go to some Jolsia and get, how many years this will work, because it's a new product. You don't know how many years this will work perfectly. So in order to do that, there are some scientific methods also. For example, highly accelerated life test. For example, the product you develop, you put into highly accelerated life test. For example, temperature, you put in an oven where the temperature is raised to maybe 85 degrees Celsius. The humidity is 85% RH, and you run it for 2 hours, burn it, take it out and see whether it still works. And there are a few ways, like even during the burning, you can continuously take the data, you can analyze, and you can predict what can be the life of the product. So that is how it is. We are saying like it is 5 years, 10 years and all, okay? And then the commercial product comes out. Now the question comes there, like compliance testing is not very simple thing. Normally, you develop and you go to compliance testing, there is a possibility that it can fail. Okay, I have to tell what is why this compliance is required. This also I think you may be knowing, but still, when you are developing a product, there are some standards. Why these standards are there? So that compatibility is there. Whatever product you are developing, whatever product other person is developing, these are all compatible. So that there are some standards. And also whatever product you are developing, it should not create unnecessary interference to the other products. Okay, it should not radiate unnecessarily. If you look at the car, only a small wire acts like an antenna. Okay, so similarly, when you are developing a product, if there are some wires inside, that can also act like an antenna and radiate, which will cause interference to other things. So that is not allowed. So that is why all the standards are there. You have to comply to all these things. There are some ways to do that. Yeah, there are some design for manufacturability approach, which I think probably you may not be, the normal designer will not be knowing. Only people coming from a manufacturing setup will know. The electronic component placement and fiducial to suit volume manufacturing. You are making a PCB. You can do, even a normal engineer can do a PCB layout. The output is called Gerber. you can keep all the components in such a way that the PCB can be very small. And you have to have some standards complied to, we call it as IPC standards, where what should be the width of the tracks, what should be the gap between two tracks, then if the current, large current flows, then what should be the width, so that it takes care of the current. Then finally, when the manufacturing is done, volume manufacturing is done, a pick and place machine is a robotic machine which takes the components and keeps it at various places, all the components. So the robotic machine needs to understand where I have to keep all these things. So it has to have a reference first. The Gerber will be acting as a input, but it has to also know where is the reference. So it will look for reference, and from there it will go and place all these machines. So all these things have to be there in the Gerber. PCB layout for EMI/EMC compliance. As I said, electromagnetic interference and electromagnetic compatibility, it will radiate. Your product will not get CE certification. For that purpose, there are many methods. Sometimes, instead of 2-layer PCB, people go for 4-layer. Like one is active layer, then they put a ground layer, and again another ground layer, and then maybe the active layer. So like that, you can suppress some of the radiation there. Component life cycle review. See, you do invest everything on the design, and finally, once you complete the design, and when you go to buy the component, you will see that that component has become obsolete, not available in the market. Then what will you do? So all these things have to be done during the design itself. Optimization of mechanical designs to suit manufacturing, very important. If you are going to do a injection molding, finally, then the design has to be suit that injection molding process. If you are doing some other process, it has to take care of that. For example, if there is a curved surface in a SolidWorks design file, it looks very good. Industrial designer will give you a very good shape, but when you make it, after some time, it may bend, it may not give you the exact curve, it may slowly deteriorate. So you have to have enough strength. So when you do the mechanical design, under that part, you have to give some rips so that the strength can be increased. All those things. Mechanical manufacturing process review, you have to know. Mechanical stress and strain analysis. I will talk about that a little later. Thermal analysis. I have so many startups who have used very high speed processing, like NVIDIA video processing board, GPU board, and all. Everything works perfectly, and after 30 minutes you can see that the circuit suddenly stops working because of many of the time it is because of thermal generation, the heat generation that is not properly controlled. Then Proto Build, volume build, this also you have to take care of that. I think I'm taking much time, so I will go a little fast. So I have talked about a concept to a product. Let me take you through one case study. This is the same process I am showing. To make it clear, I have taken up ultrasound since it is healthcare. So ultrasound, this is the typical ultrasound, what is available a few years earlier. Now it is all very, very trendy ultrasound. So some time back, this is a little old case study. So at that time, somebody wanted to come up with a new ultrasound which will look good. So first thing is proof of concept. So that idea, they have a very good idea. They have come up with that idea and they wanted to prove. So you can see there are a lot of off-the-shelf available circuit boards. We have used it and then put it on the table and made sure first that the concept works. That's what is required. The next one is the design. The design, you have to go there, and when you do the design, you have to take care of so many things. I will focus only on the console because the remaining also is done similarly. Let me focus on the console for explaining it clearly. You can see that mechanical design exploded view here. When you are designing a console, first thing is it should look good. Okay. Second one is it should be very user friendly for the doctors. Then for an engineer like me, what I will see is like what can happen when the product is used in the lab. There will be some gels used, some water can fall on that, some IP liquid, something cleaning liquid can fall on that one. So when it falls, what happens? I have to do the design in such a way that even if it falls, the liquid will not go on the electronic circuits. So I have to put sort of a rubber keypad so that even if some liquid falls, it is directed towards and it goes to some place so which can be naturally drained out and things like that. So we have to protect the electronic board. This is what I wanted to tell. Okay. So this will consist of many things. So all these things you have to work together. Yeah, this one. For ultrasound, when you design, normally you will not see. When you operate, the doctor will be using most of the time a little bit pressure on the side where I'm showing the red here in the screen. So that portion, there may be pressure by the doctor, whenever they are doing the ultrasound. I have to make sure that it has to be strengthened from behind. So I have to put enough ribs and other ways so that, even if it presses, there is no bending happening there. Okay, those are some of the things you have to take care during the design. Then I did the Proto Build. You can see it is all 3D printed type of thing. I'm showing only a console. I made the Proto so that I can test it and it was okay. Then I went for the pilot build. You can see the pilot. From Proto, you can see how different it is. Proto looks, not many color and all. It's a 3D printed. But when I had gone for pilot build, I have done the tooling. It is almost the same thing. This is made in the manufacturing plant where the final product is going to come up with. So this is the product which we came up with from one stage to the other one. So now we have to go for the compliance testing. You won't believe, all these compliances, there are some standards and you have to comply to those things. For example, put the console under water and then see what happens. Then there are many keys. So you have to find out what should be the life of each key. For example, on-off button. How many times I will, or a person will be using that in a day. Then you calculate 25 days in a month and then 5 years. So 1 million times it has to work. So whatever switch you are going to select has to have a reliability of 1 million times. And it is not only, so you have to select the switches using the data sheet, and also you have to really do a live test. You can see here, I will show in the next slide somewhere here, a reliability test is done. So it is pressed that many times, maybe 10 million times continuously. And we came up with a setup so that when the switch goes bad, the count stops there. So all these things you have to do it. That's how you do complete the design. Once the design is done, when you are transferring to the manufacturing unit, as I said, everything has to be through documents. Okay, it's not like you are going to sit with them and explaining. It has to be a document. You can see a typical set of document which you have to transfer when it is a healthcare product. If it is, this may be a little bit exhaustive list, but these type of, at least for a startup, at least we can reduce some of them. But all these things are required. That is how manufacturing happens here. Typical timelines you wanted to see, it is not hard and fast rule. It all depends on the thing. Concept maybe 3 months. Proof of concept maybe 4 months. It's a very good team. Design maybe 6 months. Proto build 3 months. Then pilot build maybe 4 months. Compliance testing 4 months, depending on the availability, lab availability, reliability testing and all, maybe 2 months. There are some tricks actually. As I said, compliance testing, you can also do some lab in-house pre-compliance testing. And if it fails, you can take care of all those things. So that is some of the things. Don't worry, as a startup or as a company, when you are entering into a thing, some days it is hard to find motivation. You will find like some other people are doing very good, I am not doing good. That is a normal thing. Don't get disheartened. Some days motivation finds you. So that will happen when the funding agency asks for the status update. I think you will surely do better. So whenever we sit in the presentation, when the funding agency, the presentation will be always like, within next 1 week, I will complete everything. That's how it comes. That is the thinking. Like, we think like within next 1 week it will happen. But again, the next review meeting, you will hear only incremental thing. Now, let me come to a case study in healthcare. This is how we helped actually. Design Alpha help. Just to give an idea like how it looks. This is a startup specialized in biotechnologies. The requirement they had was to come up with a small handy bottle where 2 separate liquids to be dispensed at specific volume. See here, Design Alpha are like people. We are not into your technology. Technology is yours. We are here to support you to transform into an engineering product. So this startup, actually, they are a biotechnology people. They have come up with some reagent and liquid and all those things. They wanted to spray in some sequence. There were some requirement from them. One liquid volume will be half of the other. No leaking, even if the bottle is placed horizontal. The spray shall not be mist. It should be liquid. For every spray, the diameter of the sprayed liquid is defined. So all these things are the qualitative definition. This is not a specification. From this, we came up with, we started working. We first came up with a design, then we came up with a Design Alpha's prototype, all IP owned by the customer. So this is how we transform your idea into the usable product. One more to explain. This is the customer is an expert in hospital equipment technology. They have been trying various methods to realize a setup used on the bed. It's a special bed. I don't want to reveal the IP and all because it is of the startup. So they got stuck for some time. They have a proof of concept, but they don't know how this can be realized as a product which is manufacturable. So that is how we did. We came up with an innovative design so that it is a manufacturable. You can see the thing. The earlier proto proof of concept was like using a lot of pillows, air pillows, and all. Then we came up with some manufacturable thing so that this has got directly, it can go for manufacturing. It took a lot of time. We had to do a lot of innovation and things like that. But this IP also we transferred to the customer. Another one, client has taken over technology from government laboratory. This is another case study, typical case study. There are many government labs, R&D labs. They have come up with a lot of very good ideas. Most of them are publishing papers, filing patent, and the prototype lies in the shelf. So they see from our side, we can look at whether we can take it, the technology as is, where is basis, okay? Then transform into useful technology. So this is very important. This will save a lot of money for the R&D because R&D is already done by the government and you may have to pay a technology transfer fee or a royalty. This is what we have done. You can see the left-hand side was we call it as a research only use model, which is available in the lab. They can demonstrate everything, but what we have done is like, we have come up with a thing which this is to carry some biospecimens and all with some particular temperature and things like that. So that is how we transformed into that. So we will be able to help you on these type of things. Now, keep this in mind when you design healthcare product. Yeah, this is what I always used to tell the healthcare startups, whoever is attempting to that, and I need not tell the doctors, medical devices that I designed and developed could be used on my mom, spouse, sister, kids, and so on. That's what you have to think. That means if you are making any mistake unknowingly also, this is going to affect the diagnosis on you or your dear ones. That's what you have to keep in mind. Then you will do a real very good design. You have to take care of even small things like that. Generally, the patient trusts the expertise of the clinician. The patient seldom wonders if the products used by the clinicians are safe and have been thoroughly and rigorously tested. They don't ask you, when the patient will not ask you whether it is already tested, they assume that it is done. For example, a bug appeared, came in the software, which will appear only at some particular situation. So that may give a wrong diagnosis saying like there is a tumor and where there is no tumor. Or when there is a tumor, it gives like there is no tumor. So all those things are very, very dangerous. So you have to be very, very, clear on understanding your product. You have to do all the possible work. Okay. So that is what I wanted to do. Tell you, risk management is so important to the medical device industry. This is something different than the other industries like consumer area. If it fails, nothing happens. But here it is very important. Like similar way in aerospace defense also, I have been working on there also. It is not risk, actually, their redundancy. If one fails, other one should take over. That is where we emphasize there. Here it is very, so you have to know that the medical devices you are involved with bringing to patients and end users are very safe. There is a standard for that, so that one, ISO 14971. It's a combination of the probability of occurrence of harm and severity that harm. That is what you have to, this is to identify, evaluate, analyze, assess, and like mitigate potential product issues. See, it is not like no risk will be there. There will be risk. You have to understand first when you are developing a product. You have to mitigate that when you are developing the product. That's what is expected. Okay, it's a product life cycle process. There are other, it will take a few hours to explain all these things, but the typical standards are IEC 60601, 62366, 10993, ISO 13485. These are some of the standards. For example, design can be ISO 13485, where risk is managed. You have to do, and the manufacturing facility also has to be ISO 13485. This will be normally over 9001. That is, 9001 is a typical quality process where everything is documented. 13485, for example, you can see 13485 because that is specific to quality management system. I'm running short of time. During the design itself, you can do a FMEA, failure mode and effects analysis. This you can do it. You try to identify the gap, possible risk. Then you also come up with what is the mitigation. So for that one, so this is how you mitigate all these things. So it's a very interesting thing. You will identify the risk, and finally you will come up with some sort of a weightage for each one. The strong REN will have more focus by you. You have to take care of that mitigation. That's how. See, there are some ways, for example, X-ray radiation. Some of them, you cannot avoid. So for that, how you mitigate is like you give a label saying like there is a radiation, and you put it on the equipment, there is a radiation. And you tell the patient when before using the equipment, there is a radiation. So all those things are there. It's a big process. Let me just finally come to what is product cost. This is very important. Now, many healthcare companies saying like, I am buying a ultrasound, which is costing 8 lakhs or 10 lakhs. Let us take 10 lakhs. If I buy one and open it up and find out all the components, you add the cost, it may come to maybe instead of 10 lakhs, it comes to 7 lakhs. So I will, normally they think like, okay, I can sell it for 8 lakhs so that more people will buy. So the bill of material cost is not the product cost. Product cost will consist of bill of material cost, inward freight cost, because many of the components you have to import. So there is a freight you have to give. You have to pay the customs duty. You have to, the components are bought, you have to convert that. That is the processing there. When you are soldering, you will be using some lead and all those things to be factored. Assembly and testing cost. You will be using some test equipments to test your system. So there is a cost associated with that. Packing and brochure cost, how to send it. And the packing should look good. And then only people will buy. The brochure cost. Then R&D, development, tool cost, amortization. A part of that, you cannot add everything on one product. You assume that I will get it amortized over products for running for 5 years. So 5 years, I will sell maybe 10,000 numbers. So over 10,000 numbers you amortize, so that it will add maybe $2 or something like that. I will show a real example here. You can see that direct material cost is only 65%. So all other 35% out of these 100 product costs coming from various other things, like yield loss. For example, you are making 10 products, you cannot buy 10 components. You have to buy maybe 12, because sometimes one may not work, or the machine which is placing may throw it out. That is also possible. So that is called the yield loss. So all those things will add. So typically in healthcare, you can think of 65, 70 as BOM cost, so that the product cost can be 100%. As a summary, I think 544 now. Prototype development completion is only 30% of the whole job. See, normally people will shout at saying like the MVP, whatever proof of concept I call it. So I assume that is only 30%. Remaining thing, you have seen the product stages. Design for manufacturability, regulatory compliances shall not be an afterthought. You should never think like all those things I will do later on when the product works. There are many instances where it fails and you have to do the redesign. Then you have to change everything and go through the same process. Take help of some of the hands-on mentors. Excellent opportunity for startups to make social impact. Thank you very much. I think it should be 5:45. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful presentation, sir. You took us through the topic so beautifully. Basically, you were demystifying the product development to us. I understand, yeah, the time was a little short. You have a lot to talk about this. I think a day or two, it won't be enough for you. Thank you, sir. So I think we'll go ahead and take some questions now, sir. It looks like we have a few questions.
Sharat Pant, that is what one. Yeah, compliances and testing are really cumbersome, but it is required. Otherwise, it will go like China made oximeter, the faulty oximeter in place of saving life. You are very, very correct. Like the oximeter, if you put the pencil in the oximeter, it shows a 93% SpO2. Oh, that's what a video which was. Yeah, this is really required, but it is not cumbersome. If you think it is cumbersome, it is cumbersome. So the idea is like during the design itself, you take help of some of the people who have done the product development, where you take care of all those things. It can be easily done. It's not a thing. And those are all theoretical things. People can help. But even, whatever expertise you have, I'm very sure theoretical thing will not be 100% sure. So what we do is like when your proto is ready, or the first one, even proof of concept may not be there, alpha proto is ready. You hire this lab, these regulatory labs. You can hire it for maybe half day or so. So the design engineer or the test engineer has to take this proto to the regulatory lab and do the testing there. You have to do the testing. They will not do the testing. They will help you. So when you do the testing, it may fail. Then your designer can change some of the components to make it pass there. The regulatory lab will not give a certification at that point. It is because they are just giving you the facility to use. So you use that. Probably for half day, you may have to pay it, whatever type of equipment you are using. But at that point, your proto is made to pass the requirement. That is the way it can be done. For example, ESD, electrostatic discharge. It is like, when an equipment is there, if lightning comes, what happens? The equipment can go bad because a lot of voltage can get into the port. So in order to take care of that, there are some standards where they say like, wherever there are some open ports, you put a gun. It's an electrostatic gun. It gives high voltage, like 6 kV, 11 kV. It can go up to 35 kV and all. You fire it. When you fire it, you can see that lightning, the spark happening, and it gets into your board. And if the board still works, you have done a very good design. So sometimes, when you do the first time, the board, may go bad, or it may not work, stop working. What you have to do is there are some components to take care of that. They call it as Esd Diodes. So you put a diode at the input point so that when high voltage comes only, that diode, that component will take that high voltage to the ground instead of allowing it to go to the circuit. So that is how all these things can be done in a lab. So you have to hire that lab. You can easily get it done. Never think like CE certification and all are very difficult. We have done so many for many people. It's only you have to think like the design is done to take care of compliance testing. That's all. I think, Sharat, I hope it is okay.
Yes, sir. The next question is from Arshadam Koya. Please let me know the institute that offers the compliance tests.
There is one more, I think, Jagdish, before that.
Yes, sir.
Current situation, many products come which is not lab tested or approved. Indian mindset to buy low cost, maybe food or even medical, maybe good or even medical. Yeah, that's right. I think, slowly things are coming up. But even now, if you are coming up with a ventilator, for example, because when the COVID is there, everybody came up with a ventilator. There is, there is a you can, group of doctors, I think a few hospitals are approved, where they can also certify as emergency use only. So that, during this time you can use it. It is okay. It has not gone through the compliance testing. So I think people are currently getting aware of that one. It is not low cost. For example, doctors, they will always look for whether, even when you go for initial patient trials and all, they will ask so many questions whether it is CE approved. That is another problem. Unless you complete the product, you will not get CE approval. So what you can do is, like, you do some sort of a preliminary test from these labs and get some certificates, and you can present it to doctors so that they will allow it to be used with the patients. So that's the only way you can do. But people are getting aware of. I think this is required. Never ever think like, yeah, go ahead, Jagdish.
Sir, basically I am working in electronics field last 20 years. And basically I'm working in many power electronics and medical instruments also. But I found that in power or industrial product, company invest on testing, and many companies interested to make the production using lab test or approval certificate. But in medical field, I found that there is some Chinese or what I say non-standard product which enter in the market and making the market disturb due to the cost. So
Yeah.
in such a scenario, how to guide to us so that we can work on such a product so that we can stand in market.
See, very good question. Like, you have to do a lot of homework before you plan your product. If you are getting into market
I
where,
give one, sir, sorry for disturb. I develop one product which is for blood collection, BCM, which is known for the blood donation camp, where they collect the blood from the donor and collect in the bag. And during this process, they use the stirring
I know.
mechanism.
I think I have heard somewhere the same thing.
Yeah. It is around 10-12 years developed. After that, again, I rework for this project.
See,
but I found that the customer say that no, make it low cost, blood bank will accept it and go ahead like this. But there is a vibration, and due to the vibration, there is a weight disturb.
Yeah. See,
like this situation.
I think people are becoming aware of the products which are. One example I'll just give. Somebody came to me to come up with a product. What is that? Like, it gives so many parameters from body weight and things like that. Like a few parameters it will measure, but it will give the whole lot of things. And I spent a lot of days how this is possible. I went through all the literature. Finally, this is not at all possible. What they are doing is, it's sort of a lookup table. If this parameter is like this, if this is like this, if this is like this, this is the final thing. That is how it comes as a lookup table. It's not a real thing. So I never get into those type of thing. I think you have to be very careful. I will give some tips on low cost thing. Low cost, you have to be very careful when you are getting into a volume market, like a mobile phone. You cannot really compete like that one. These are all being made in volumes,
million, not a lakh.
So you have to plan your product where you can, you can stand up to the market requirement. These healthcare is one. Healthcare, for example, healthcare products are not being made in millions and all. Ultrasounds maybe in a year 4,000. So you have to. The first thing is, my advice is disruptive innovation is the only way. Disruptive innovation. One example I will just give. There is an MRI coming up, I think, by one of the startup group, a very beautiful team. They have come up with where there is no need of liquid helium. So that is how the things can be, the cost can be brought down. It's there is no other way you can bring down the cost. So this is the only thing, because we don't have any sources. You have to buy all components from other countries. That's how the only thing. I will move on because otherwise there is no time.
Okay, sir.
Please let me know the institute that offers the compliance. Many are there. UL in Bangalore, then TUV in Bangalore, then Samir in Chennai, FCRI in Palghat. Many are there. I think if you just search, there are many government institutes also. They give this as a service which is less expensive compared to the other people. But UL, TUV and all are very good. And Tarang, Wipro Tarang lab, they also give this one. So you can hire that their facility initially for pre-compliance. but otherwise they will certify also that you can use it. Permission needed for diagnostic device or testing if it is a non-invasive. Yeah, there is, I think, if you want to do any testing, even if it is a light, which is not really hurting, but still you have to get ethical clearance from, the doctors and all. So once you are able to prove that this will not harm or this will not aggravate the disease, existing disease, through published papers, because you have not done. So there will be a lot of similar papers. For example, LED used in some other equipment. So you take that paper, published paper in biomedical journal and all, and present to the ethical committee. I think they are all doctors and advocates and all those people. I think they will be able to help you. I think Indian, I think there is, Mazumdar Shah Medical Foundation, they will be very helpful on that one. They understand what it is. I required lab info which provides calibration certificate. It all depends on what type of thing. As I said, many are there, calibration certificate. There are some Department of Biotechnology, like Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Biotechnology. They all give many of the calibration certificates in some products.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Aju or Jagdish, please come. Yeah, okay. Good. Trishur, yes. I'm a doctor. If I have an idea how to carry over to product development with collaboration. Yeah. So they are here, you have to really define qualitatively what you want to be developed. Doctor is enough. I think that is better, so that you know what should be the product. So you just define in terms of qualitative terms. Then we will be sitting together. We are the organization like us can sit together and we will come up with a system specification. Then we will go into the subsystem specification. So like that, we can always do. I think many. I have a lot of clients who are all doctors, dentists, and all. They have very good idea of what they want. That is very important. Then we will be able to make it like that. We can identify where this can be prototyped, where this can be volume manufactured. We have all those partnerships. Send your contact details. A great presentation. Yeah, I think Dr. Sharon will be able to help you.
Yes.
You can contact the MSMA TV and okay. They are all replying. Thanks for wonderful suggestion. Thank you.
Servicing and calibration of medical equipment.
Yeah, this is. I think it's a very good business. You should, when you are coming up with a product, you should really start that also. You can even outsource this to a few people. You just give them training on your equipment. They will go and do all these things, and you will get a percentage of that revenue. So it's a very good model for you. What are the special we require for the medical device apart from CE and ISO? I think these are CE, UL is one thing, and sometimes it is required. That is a safety. For example, whatever product you are making, if it gets fired, what happens? Will it flare it up? Or your device will not make it flare it up? So all those things, type of thing. I think otherwise, you can find out from there are some list of equipment which needs certification. Otherwise, you can get approval also from CDSCO also from Delhi. Thank you. Any certification required for research only use product as well? And for clinical studies, IRB is enough. Yeah, I think that is enough. I think, but research only use product also. I think when you are going to a doctor, at least a minimum safety you have to do. It's our responsibility. For example, I am using a product on a patient, and it should not allow an amount of current flowing through the patient. So you have to do a design in such a way that in no condition more than 50 microampere of current will pass on the patient, even if your product fails. So all those things you have to take care of. So you have to support the doctors. You have to give confidence level to the doctor, saying like it is absolutely safe to be used on the patient. Otherwise, sometimes, ethical committee and all the institutional regulatory board, they will ask you to do or take some insurances, for example, or they may tell you like you take care of the further testing process. For example, a cancer detection. So you are coming up with a screening device. you do that one. So there, sometimes after the screening, your device says like, yes, there is cancer. Then, normally the authorities or the hospitals will say that fund them to do the other biopsy and take it forward. Okay, because the patients may be at the bottom of the pyramid. They don't have financial thing to do a lot of testing. So you have to do. That is one thing. Second one is like insurance also you can take. So in case when your device is being used, something happened to the patient and they sue, at that time, the insurance can help. So there are a few methods to do all these things. But it is our prime responsibility. Yeah.
Looks like we have covered all our questions. Is there anything else that you want to say before the wrap up, sir?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I have one question. Is any mandatory to all doctors or hospital to recalibrate the instrument they use? Because in industry, we use all the meters or all these instruments. We have to compulsory under say audit or some certification required to recalibrate. But in medical field, is any such a guideline or from health department to recalibrate or calibration process to conduct or audit it for hospital and doctors?
Yeah,
because I don't know this. That's why I asked.
Yeah, good. You see, many of the good hospitals are all ISO 9001 certified, 13485 certified, at least ISO 9001 certified. So that requires the calibration of all the equipment being used under that one. So it is always better to get it calibrated. Otherwise, you may be giving. So many of the medical equipments, do some self-calibration also. So that is also possible. Like, they give a reference. Then they ask us to use that reference and initially check whether all the readings are okay. So many ways are there, but I think it is always better to get calibrated. Otherwise, it will give wrong results.
Yeah, but in many test report they suggest show their reference, what type of reference. But as an electronics engineer, I know that for our multimeter.
It has to be tested to reference. Yes.
We require some higher standard multimeter or say reference.
Yes.
But in medical, there is no such a Indian. I know that which is the big giant lab which provides such a setup like MRI and X-ray. And even though the all medical hospital person use such setup for day and day.
I don't know specifically, but at least for X-ray and all, radiation. The BARC, they are the Baba Atomic Research Center. They are the authority. I think there's some name for that board. They have to Atomic Research Board or something like that. They have to certify.
Okay.
The radiation.
Great. Is there anybody else who wants to? I think that's a wrap up.
AARB board.
AARB. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We hope to see you again next time. And on behalf of Masundarsha Medical Foundation, Narayana Health City, and Wilgrow, supported by Virat, I extend my deep gratitude to you, sir, for your insights today. We look forward to collaborate with you. And anybody among the participants or anybody whom you know, if they have an idea and they are struggling to get it into the clinical trials or who are stuck with regulatory affairs, please feel free to write to TBI, or you can even go to Masundarsha Medical Foundation Technology Business Incubator website and you can fill in the application form. We are here to help you. So once again, thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.